got off to kind of a slow start tonight. Got down 11 points, and I think our kids were a little out of joint there in the first few minutes. I thought our effort was good, and I thought that Notre Dame was doing a very good job executing. They got out on us. And then we went on an 18-0 run. I think gave us a little confidence. We went up 10, and then we showed our inexperience. We had about 3 or 4 turnovers right there toward the end of the second half. But what I was most proud of is that we went back at halftime and we regrouped, and we were able to come out and execute a lot better. Our plan was to try to get to the free throw line a little bit more tonight, and that probably made a big difference in the game. This was the #1 3-point shooting team in the ACC, regardless of their record. And I thought that some of the guys, we did a very good job by making them have to work for every shot that they got. Burton is one of those exceptional players that it's very difficult to hold him down, but I thought we did a good job making him work for all the little things that he got. And, we've been challenging our players that we wanted to. There's so many stories about college basketball that there always seem to be 2 or 3 teams at the end of the season seem to magically do things to make the end of the season more exciting. I mean, St. Peter's a couple years ago. I remember University of North Carolina State finished the season like maybe 17-13 and won the national title. Same thing with North Carolina State last year. So we're challenging our guys to put themselves in the right frame of mind mentally to see whether or not we can be one of those teams that teams are talking about at the end of the year. But in order to do that, we got to take one game at a time. We can't look too far down the road. We got to worry about that which we can control. And that's just our preparation each day, and then be so consistent with our preparation it gives you confidence in going to each game and see whether or not we can be at our very, very best. You guys got any questions?
Guys, raise your hands and we'll bring a microphone to you on this one. Chris, right here.
Leonard, can you just talk about what's been like for you and your team since the conclusion of the BC game to right now, just with everything that's developed in recent days?
Well, obviously, we've won 14 straight overtime games into this year. That's a national record. It's the most close games won by a team in the history of college basketball. So our preparation has always been pretty good in close game situations over the years that we've been here. However, this is the most inexperienced team that we've had, the 10 new players. And we showed that down the stretch at Boston College. We made a lot of ill-advised mistakes, but I'm hopeful that we learned from that. And I thought that was one of the reasons why our guys were more focused tonight, because the fact that we were dealing with something that we thought we let each other down on by just not finishing the game at Boston College. And I thought that kind of motivated us. And we harped on that quite a bit. In relations to my resignation announcement, I tried to be very matter of fact. You know, I didn't try to make it emotional. We just explained to them how the game is, and sometimes that becomes a time when you have to make a decision. I didn't dwell on it a lot, but I did challenge them that the true test of a man's character is how you handle adversity. And right now, we had lost 4 games in a row, and we had to figure out who we were as people, as young men, to go out and overcome the challenge that we had. And I thought our guys did that, so I'm very proud of them. I didn't try to put anybody on a guilt trip. We just wanted to be very matter of fact that we got a lot to play for. This is what I'm going to do, but now what are we going to do? And I thought the guys responded very well.
Second row in the end.
Coach, you're only 4 games away from 200 ACC regular season wins. The remaining 8 are going to be rather challenging. How are you and the team preparing to hopefully obtain that achievement and your time left, and what would that mean to you?
We're not gonna do anything different than what we've been doing. We're gonna have to take it one day at a time. We're gonna try to be on point with our preparation. We down two of our most important players, Jerry and Taylor. We're gonna try to get them back healthy. Daquan's all beat up. You know, he's struggling a little bit. That's what young people do when they're forced into playing the type of minutes that he's playing and with the type of effort that he gives. That's what we can control. You know, we can't control all. You say we got 8 games left? Okay, I can't control the 8th game. What we can control is Thursday. Thursday's approach and how we go in that. For us to have some opportunity at the end, we gotta make sure we take care of business now. So we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves. We wanna try to improve our focus. We wanna try to maybe work a little harder, get a little bit better condition. And I played, 3 guys played over 30-something minutes tonight? Is that true?
I didn't see my sir.
Man, I just looked. Since nobody can answer that, we all at the
4
game.
guys. Yes, that's correct. 4, coach.
See, that's not what we're accustomed to, and so the quality of your depth dictates that. The night we were down a couple guys, and we had AJ just coming off an injury, and he's not in very good shape. So we got to correct that. Those are the things that we have to do in order for us to have something to be thinking about at the end of the season. I'm confident from a talent standpoint that we're capable. But we are challenged being all on the same page, offensively and defensively. And thank God we got some time now to go back and work on some fundamentals, heal up a little bit, maybe do a little conditioning, and be prepared for Wake Forest. Then you can ask me about the next game after we get through with that one, okay? All right.
Liam in the front row.
You just mentioned that there comes a time you have to make a decision. Can you kind of give us a behind the scenes look at the timeline of that and kind of what went into that decision?
Well, what I'm gonna give you is that there comes a time when it's just time. You know, and I'm not gonna do like a lot of coaches, talk about all the ills of what's going on, all the challenges we have. It's just time. It's time for Florida State basketball to have a new voice. And it's time for what's best for Florida State, and I also think it's what's best for me. And so, you know, in the atmosphere that we're dealing with now, it's interesting. But nothing I say to you is gonna change it. And I'm not one to want to give a whole lot of opinions about how I feel about this and how I feel about that, because we all have opinions. The thing, if you're talking about the climate of basketball, I have more questions than I have opinions. For instance, I'm sure that the climate that we're dealing with now, whoever was on that committee, they did a lot of research to come up with the atmosphere that we're dealing with. And I'm sure there were specialists in that room, psychologists, financial people, and they did a lot of research to make those decisions. I would just like to know what their thought process was, so that I could get a better understanding of how we're supposed to deal with what we're dealing with now. For me to criticize is already done. For me to talk about how challenging it is, I just like to, I'm sure that they had a plan for us to follow to make it better, because I'm sure there were a lot of intelligent people, well-meaning people that have been a part of helping shape the decisions that we're making, of shaping the situation that we all are dealing with. That is challenging. But none of that had a whole lot to do with my decision. You know, my decision is based on how I feel. And those of you who know me, I think things through, and I really think it's best for Florida State. And that's hopefully it'd be best for me.
Ira.
Coach, you have so many relationships in the business. How have you been able to not answer all the phone calls and text messages and all that over the last?
Well, I had about an hour a day with my trusted sidekick, Karen, and she had one phone, and we were just answering texts. I mean, because I don't want to ignore people who I've developed relationships with over the years. But we got through most of them, and tonight there's a whole another bunch of guys that we gotta respond to. But that's part of the community, college athletics. You develop those relationships. I've been doing this since 1971, before most of you guys were born. And I've had an unbelievable ride. For me to be complaining, to say anything negative, would almost be sacrilegious. I've been blessed immeasurably. A lot of these guys, they keep mentioning the word Hall of Fame. I told them, I sent some texts, I'm trying to get to heaven. You know, so I'm not gonna, you know, if along the way, you know, I got some accolades that I can enjoy fine, but my primary focus is trying to finish this season strong. Because, fellas, you have no idea the joy it is coming on a college campus and taking teenagers and ushering them into young adulthood. I enjoy when they want you to be at their wedding, they want you to meet the fiance. They call you on Father's Day. I have a text from Michael Ojo that I'll never erase. And every time I listen to it, I get emotional with the sincerity that he called me and wished me happy birthday, you know, before he passed. And that meant so much to me. But those are the things that you develop along the way that far exceeds anything else. I'm proud of the fact that we've only had one player not graduate who stayed with us for 4 years. And I'm proud of the fact that I think that we've been trying to develop relationships that are not 4-year relationships, they're 40-year relationships. You know, where they call in actually for advice. And they whenever they have issues that are challenging for them, they call me. You know, I still have kids that I talk to from Austin Peay. And I went there in '71. I got kids I talked to from Kentucky. I was there for 12 years. Oklahoma State, Miami. When I took the job here, I had about 30 basketball players from Miami met me in Atlanta, took me and my wife out to dinner. I mean, those are the things that are meaningful in this business. And so I don't want to be selfish. I want to do the very best I can with the job I've been tasked with, and I want to help our players leave this program and hopefully learn something about how to be a better husband, a better father, a better neighbor, a better citizen. You know, I want to hope that we are doing all those things. And so I'm not really, that's what I want to continue to do. And things for me personally, I'd be selfish if I allow myself to deviate from that focus. You had a question?
Yeah.
Pete.
Coach, so DEI has become essentially the national discourse, right?
Yeah.
You come from an era where, and we all know that DEI is all about opportunities. You were living DEI before it was a thing. Can you talk about the fact that you were a trailblazer for a lot of guys that look like you, that came behind you and had success?
Well, you know, I'm so fortunate to never live more than 30, 40 yards from my church. And every time the door opened, we were in it. Sunday school, BTU, Vacation Bible School, the Usher Board, the choir practice, the junior choir, the fellowship choir. I really could throw a rock from my back porch and hit the windows at my church. And so I think along the way, I was fortunate enough to have a mother and father who cared enough about me to spank me. I mean, I wasn't a choir boy. I mean, I challenged some things, but my mother and father, my father especially, he'd always tell me to go outside and get a switch. But I think developing that discipline and then developing a moral compass that allowed me to develop a work ethic that didn't allow me to make excuses and do anything but not let anybody outwork me. Those were my goals. My father always told me, don't come to me complaining. He said, because if you let it be close, somebody might make a mistake. You can control your work ethic. So don't let nobody outwork you. And I don't want to hear anything about why you didn't succeed. If you're good enough, things will work out for you. So I had a good moral background, and my father helped me develop a work ethic where I had no excuses. And see, when I was raised, you believe and trusted your parents. You know, I didn't have anybody else in my ear other than my parents. You know, and I told our players, I say, losing 4 games in a row is challenging, but it's not like using the colored bathroom and the colored water fountain, sitting in the back of the bus, that you go to a movie and sit up in the balcony. I couldn't go in certain restaurants, couldn't stay in certain hotels. We got denied hotels because I was on the team. But I never allowed that to affect me negatively. My father never said one negative word racially in my house. The only thing he wanted to do was be paid the same thing for doing the same job. He was always challenged by the fact that he was training college students, college educated people how to do their job. And so I don't have any regrets. I think that I've always tried to do the very best that I could in everything that I've done. I've been blessed with good health, but I think that how I was raised allowed me to work through those challenges and overcome challenges that maybe were in our way by being work ethic, trying to respect people, and do things the right way, and never allow myself to make an excuse. And that has probably been the reason why I've been able to deal with what you call today DEI. You know, I just started hearing about it recently, the last couple of years. You know, all I know, I had to try to get the job done, and hopefully someone would respect it. But I was very fortunate. Up straight out of college, getting a graduate assistant job, and I always tell people, I feel like my steps has always been ordered. First semester, I'm a graduate assistant, full-time assistant coach, became ill. And so now I'm 23 years old with all the responsibilities of a full-time assistant coach. And so I had to grow up fast. I was actually coaching kids as a coach that were older than I was. And so I never had a chance to worry and figure things out and worry about those things that maybe I couldn't achieve. I had one emotional decision that probably, you know, that we all, when you're young, you make decisions. I resigned my job at Austin P because I didn't think I was going to have an opportunity to become a head coach because of my race, and it frustrated me. So I resigned on Wednesday, announcement on Thursday. I moved out of my house on Friday, took a job with Dow Chemical in Charlotte, North Carolina. My first day on the job, Joe Hall was calling me from Kentucky. So what I'm saying to you, I tried to be stupid and make a bad decision and get out of coaching. But my first day on the job at Dow Chemical, I go from not having a job, being discouraged, to the #1 job in the history of college basketball, the winningest job in the history of college basketball, calling me. So I don't think that was just me. I think that was just what I was supposed to have been doing. I could have been selling chemicals, but I've had the opportunity to have a good run, and that's why I put so much into what I do, what I've done, because I feel good about what I do. I had a couple of ministers meet with me one day, because I didn't have an opportunity, you know, to spend time working in the church like I would like to as a head coach. And I asked them, you know, I told them I was feeling challenged that I wasn't being obedient enough. And they said that what we do as coaches is a ministry within itself. And they said that God wants you to fulfill the purpose that He has for you on earth. And I said, well, how am I supposed to know I'm fulfilling my purpose? They said, well, peace of understanding comes over you, and you feel good about what you do every day. That's how I feel. I feel good every day I get up to come to work. I love working with these youngsters. I have loved working with them. And I'm sure that whatever my next chapter is, I'll figure out something that will allow me to feel good about what I do every day. Hopefully, I'll be able to have some part in the transition. I'll be available for whatever I'm needed for. And then I have some things in mind that maybe I feel they might fill that void, to give me the challenge that fulfill me, and maybe I can find that other purpose that I'm supposed to be fulfilling. Anybody got any more questions?
Peter?
Hey, Coach. Don't want to look too far ahead of the end of the season, but for the next coach in line, what will be the first thing or the message you will tell them?
I'm not gonna let you get me to any conversation about anything other than my next basketball game. I have no interest in getting too far ahead of myself and having conversation about something right now that I don't really have, that's not in place. I don't believe in hypotheticals. I try to deal in facts. And for me to start coming up with some hypothetical bunch of points that someone should be looking for, I think would be disrespectful to the people who are in charge with that responsibility. I want to be available, but my main focus right now is going to finish this season, to finish the job that I've been hired to do.
Anyone
No
else?
disrespect.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So the next game,
Yes.
you're 1-6 in road games this year,
We gotta fix that, huh?
and you're going to what is historically, Lawrence Joel's not an easy place to play. You grew up in that area, so I'm sure you're very familiar with the fans there. What needs to happen in the next 8 days to get a team to be able to close out a game on the road?
Well, let me say this to you. Regardless of where you're playing, at home or on the road, if you're not at your best, you're not gonna win. That's the way it is in the ACC. If you're at home, 70% of all games in the ACC are decided by 4 points or less. So there's a lot of near wins and there are a lot of close victories. You worry about that, what you can control is how we prepare. Every team's capable. I mean, we won how many straight games at home? We had some crazy records
It
going.
was in the 30s and 40s.
We won 30 or 40 ACC games at home that's rare. You're always gonna have people. So I know what it takes to win on the road, and we gotta prepare a young, inexperienced team mentally and emotionally to go out and do all the little things that it takes to win. You don't have a whole lot of room for error. You can't go on the road and give a 10-point run to your opposing guys on the road. Doesn't work out very well when you do that. So we gotta worry about being a little bit more together, making better decisions in order for us to go on the road and beat a very good team. But we've done that. And I'm excited about going on the road. I believe that we'll give a full account of ourselves.
Are there any more questions for Coach? Ira?
Yeah, Coach Shrewsbury said that he was touched before the game, with everything going on before the game. You were asking him how he's doing and checking on him, and he said that since he's been in the league, you've always, just been giving of yourself to the other coaches and not just worried about yourself in Florida State. Why is that important to you, and where did you learn that?
I'm just trying to be Leonard Hamilton. I'm not trying to put on no facade. I had so many people help me along the way. I mean, it would be disrespectful for me not to try to give back to any and everybody that needs an encouraging word. I know what it's like. I've been through it. Probably more so than a lot of people. So I've learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. It hasn't always been perfect for me. But I think I've gained a lot of wisdom along the way. And I had guys like John Thompson and George Raveling, Lake Kelly. There's so many people that I always had to lean on. I'm laughing because anytime I had a situation that I felt uncomfortable dealing with, I'd call Big John, and some of his advice was very interesting. My first job at Oklahoma State, at Kentucky, we could discipline a kid and just put another All-American in the game. And we go right on down the road. So my first game at Oklahoma State, I'm checking curfew. I had my guy checking curfew. Two of the guys were a few minutes late for curfew. So we came back around to check again. They had jumped in the bed, but they hadn't taken their shoes off. They were covered up in bed with their shoes on. So they were late for curfew. So I talked to the athletic director the next morning, and I said, I might have to discipline a couple guys. They were a little late for curfew. and mine, Roger, he said, Leonard, I'm gonna support you, whatever you do. He said, but there's a lot more ways you can discipline kids than missing the game, especially your first game. It's like he reached across the desk and slapped me on both sides of the face and said, you young idiot, can you find some way? So I ended up getting those kids in the morning, and I ran them till their tongue was dragging. We went out and won the game by 20 points. So what I'm saying is I learned from people that were much more experienced than me. And I always try to make myself available for young people in this business because I've had so many people help me along the way.
Last question over there, please.
I
When you
got
first
plenty of
got to
time.
FSU, what was your goal for the program, and do you think you're leaving in a better place than when you got here?
Well, that's for you to answer. I mean, what I think maybe might be wrong. You guys know where it was. You can very well see where it was when we got here, and you can see the things that we've been able to accomplish. But I also think that in many places, times, we are judged by the number of games we win and lose. The definition of a coach, though, has a lot more responsibility than just winning. You want to win those kids who, first time they're away from home, help them go from teenagers, thinking like teenagers to young adults. Some kids don't always come in with the right frame of mind. You got to help them grow. You got to take them from where they are. You got to develop those relationships to help them be the best version of who they are. And like I said earlier, for us to have only one or two kids not graduate in 23 years, I think is an accomplishment. I would pat myself on the back about it. Because, everybody didn't come here cum laude, and sometimes it's challenges that you have to hold kids accountable for, and from a study habit, from a conduct habit, from all of the above. And so I'll let my peers and the media decide what they think. And I've done the very best I could. I think we've made some accomplishments, but our record speaks for itself.
Any more questions for Coach tonight? Thanks, everybody.